welcome to What's Good in Riverside. It's been a long time since we've done one because it's just been difficult. I think that's the one thing people don't understand. And like, it's so hard to like, let me put a timer on. So hard to like get these things going sometimes, and like people forget, and then all of a sudden like Christmas and then the holidays, and then we had a COVID spike and then this and the other. So I appreciate you being on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You know what? I have been watching you for a year now or so. You are AKA the Wood Street mom over here. You know what I mean? Like,
I love it.
You're dominating the Wood Streets. So, you know, obviously we have something in connection because you work with housing and affordable housing and things like that. And I think some people get it so like misconstrued of like what affordable housing actually is that I had to have you on because I would love to talk to you about housing. I think the most thing we have in common is marketing.
Yeah.
You're a marketing guru. One day I'll get on your level, but I appreciate you coming on the show.
Now, I'm a marketing guru,
yeah.
Adam. I mean, we're in your podcast room right now.
Listen, just because I just paid for this. Like, it's not like, you know what I mean? Like,
your hashtag should be hashtag level up.
Exactly. I think so. But it's funny because like we were talking about before the podcast, it's like, it's so, I think people like use Instagram, mostly Instagram. Are you Facebooking that much anymore?
Yeah, so I do use Facebook a lot, but you know, I think it's for certain reasons. So Instagram right now is for like, you know, my friends and people that I really know. Facebook is like for my family that's like 40 plus.
Yeah, exactly. I think and then I feel like Facebook now is like the new like LinkedIn. Like it's like so like businessy now, like where Instagram's still more like, hey, I just wish we can go back to like what people had for lunch. You know what I mean? Like that would be great. Like what you had for lunch. I miss lunch photos more than anything else in this world.
You know, it's funny you say that because last night I thought I spend more time on LinkedIn now than I do on
LinkedIn's
like
a
Instagram
tool, man.
or. I wish there was a way though to where you could use it more like Facebook and like friends wise. Because when I first got LinkedIn, everyone that added me, I was like accept.
I have so many. I literally don't even go down my list anymore. I have so many people waiting to request me.
Yeah. And so I wish I knew how to use LinkedIn back then like I do now.
I just don't use it that well. Like I don't stay on LinkedIn. I go on there and I do my posts, but I'm not like in there. I think I need to do a better job of that, but it's just like so many platforms. Like this year we're really focusing on YouTube because we want to get our YouTube ad revenue going and things like that. The podcast, Instagram, Facebook. It's like I'm trying to do TikTok this year, which I hate. The city's not on TikTok, are you guys?
I don't know if the city's on TikTok, so I'm county.
Okay, is a county on TikTok?
Yeah. We are Human Resources on TikTok. I don't know if any other departments are on TikTok. We're big Facebook people at the county for sure.
What do you guys put on TikTok?
So Human Resources has a gentleman who's just really good about posting like open jobs and making it fun. Yeah. He's good at making it fun. Like,
see, I'm not a fun guy. That's why I don't think I do well on TikTok.
You're not a fun guy, Adam.
No, like I think like I'm not good like punchliney, right? Like I'm like funny, like smart ass comments or quick witted stuff, but to like build like a scene, I'm not good at a scene.
So it's funny because as I've been thinking about like, you know, 2022 and like you said in the beginning, like you and me are on the same level of kind of like we're big on marketing and, you know, affordable housing and X, Y, or Z. My goal this year is to use our social medias a lot better to like myth bust all these notions around like Section 8 and affordable housing. And I think TikTok this year is going to be like my big one that I jump in on because of, you know, all like those fun little things people are doing with like facts about stuff. I'm gonna have to get good at this thing.
So you got the point. You know what I mean? Like pointing for me is like I'm pointing here, and then Adrian laying the words up right above the things. And then too, I don't edit any of my stuff. So.
Oh, you're lucky you have an Adrian. It's gonna be me with like
I don't do any of it. I'm like trying to make an Instagram story the other day. I'm like, Adrian, how do I do this? Like I don't even know how to do it anymore.
That's cool.
I'm like I'm helpless. And that's the thing. Like we're trying to really push like our level of production. That's why we redid this room. It's like one day I just walked in and I was just like, I'm over this crappy room. Like this isn't good enough for us anymore. And then I called my buddy's wife, who's a designer. I'm like, I like gave her the dimensions. And I gave her the ideas. I'm like, this is what I want the room to kind of look like.
I love it.
I kind of stole it from, I actually stole it from Logan Paul. That's who I stole the idea from.
Really? I always thought this would be a really cool photo shoot room too.
I was actually, when you DM me that or something, or you messaged, I was going to say like, you're more than welcome to use it any time. That's the one thing people don't understand. Like you were asking me if I charge people to use my room, my office and stuff. Like, no, I let anyone use it for free.
That is so cool.
Well, because it's for me, it's like, I look at like like I have been blessed with a profession where I do really well in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, and I had my grandfather to kind of be the man to like kind of back me when I first started financially, where like I wasn't nervous to take risks because I had him. I kind of had like Grandpa Bank behind me. Like my grandpa had money, not a lot, but he had enough where he could slide me some cash if I needed it. And so like I took risks because I wasn't scared of like falling on my face and being homeless, you know? I mean, I slept on my buddy's floor in Beaumont for a little bit, you know, that's happened. But for me, like, it was just kind of one of those things where I'm like, if I have been given opportunities, why can I not give someone else an opportunity?
Right. I'm gonna ask you a question.
Ask
I
away.
hope I'm not getting too personal.
No, ask away.
What led you to sleeping on your buddy's floor for a little bit?
Oh, so, okay. You ready? A quick story?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was in professional baseball for 9 years. I got released in October 21st. That's why I made the video October 21st a few years ago, which is a great video. If you ever want to see it, hit me up. It's a great video we made. And then me and my fiance at the time, we were living in Fontana in her dad's house. Her dad moved out. We didn't even know how we were going to be able to pay rent. I was umpiring 12-year-olds on the weekend just to make an extra cash before I could ever close my first deal. Closed my first deal in real estate, made like $4,000. I was like, oh, balling, you know what I mean? Maybe a month and a half later, we broke up. And I just didn't have the money to go afford anywhere. So I really didn't know where I was going to go. And my best friend, Chris, his wife, actually, Carrie, it was like, well, you can come stay here. They lived all the way in Beaumont. And like, they're like, we have a spare bedroom with a mattress on the floor. You know, I was like, well, shoot, I don't know nothing else. So I was like, so I lived there for about maybe 8 weeks. And then actually there was a house in downtown Riverside up on the hill on Beacon Way where it was getting broken into. It was vacant. It was for sale. A lady in my office was selling it. And she said, how would you feel about like house sitting? I house sitted there for like four months until one day someone broke in and stole all my stuff. And then at that time, I luckily done pretty well in real estate. And I called my brother up. My brother was sleeping on floors too. And I said, hey, why don't you come live with me? And then my grandpa was also was like, hey, I think you should do real estate with your brother. And we went and rented a house and then kind of went there from there. But like, it's crazy to think like if I didn't have Chris, like, I don't know where I would have gone. Like my parents didn't have a place for me to live. Like none of my other friends really, you know, I was kind of alone at that point. I was so invested in real estate and I was so like committed to this that like I stopped hanging out with people. And like I think people realize like, oh, here's a story. So one day I'm out putting out open house signs, and this guy I went to high school with comes up to me and he's homeless. And he's like, hey man, like, do you think you could give me some money for the bus? And I was like, or no, do you need any help with work? And I'm like, I really don't. But the crazy part about that story is the night before I went to go get yogurt with my ex-fiance, I went to swipe my debit card and it got declined. And then so I was like, oh, that's weird. So I then slipped my credit card. I went home and I had $0 in my account. I was flat broke. And then my credit card was completely maxed out. And so like, that's the thing that I like telling people is like, I went from that to a year and a half later, opened my own office in real estate, and then lost everything and then did it again. And then like you're just gonna go through those waves. It's not if you hit rock bottom, or it's when you hit rock bottom and what you do from that. Like, I think that's the thing that people don't understand is like, when you want to do something great, it is going to be a hard road because there's a reason why a lot of people don't make it. And I think anything you want to do in life is going to be tough, like fitness, worshiping God, career, family, mom, dad, having children, like whatever it is, like it's going to be hard, you know? And like, I love that story because like it makes this mean so much more to me.
I love your story because it speaks to affordable housing.
For sure. Like, perfect example. Like, what if I didn't have real estate? What if I wasn't in a job? Or what if I just wasn't good at this job? What would I have done? Like, I don't know. Like, I literally don't know what I would have done. And I think that's the thing that people don't understand is like, you're 1-2 moves away.
You nailed it. We're a paycheck away. We're a phone call away. We're all one step away from possibly being in the position of having, to go live on a friend's floor or having, some people don't have that friend to call.
And I was trying. Like, I was working every day. Like, I would literally be in the office at 6 a.m., 7 a.m. every day. And I think that's the thing when we were talking about earlier about affordable housing. I think some people think it's the homeless guy that's smoking weed on the corner. No, it's the mom of one.
Yes.
That literally is just had some bad luck or can't get a good job or can't have, like, you have a daughter, like, I don't know, like, childcare is so expensive, so it's like I can't even afford childcare to go work or something like that.
Yeah, it's definitely a loop. I can't tell you how many families I have talked to or single moms I've talked to that are nurses, that are teachers, that have good jobs that we would consider good in our society that need affordable housing. And I also love that you said it's about what you're going to do when you're in that place. Short story. So a caseload that I carry are for our former foster youth. And, poverty can be a circle that is passed down through generation to generation. And so our former foster youth are like, some of my priority clients that I'm like, I market hard for affordable housing and to create affordable housing because I want to make sure that they get housed. And I had one youth tell me, I'm embarrassed to go on affordable housing or, to use my voucher. And I told him, this is an opportunity for you to get housing and to create a future. Yeah. And one day you're not going to need this anymore. And so it's literally using it as a stepping stone to get to where you want to go. Yeah. And I think it's okay to say, I need help. When we're young, we need help tying our shoes. When a tire pops and we're on the side of the freeway, you're going to ask someone to help you. There's different ways where we need help. And I think it's okay to ask for help to get to where you want to go. If you weren't like, hey, I need to do something and I'm going to accept my buddy Chris's like offer to come stay, would you be in this totally awesome podcast room right now?
Like crazy thing, like I had to borrow $15,000 from my grandfather once, and I had $30,000 in escrows, but like everything was getting pushed back. Like something was supposed to close the 15th, still hadn't closed, and it was the 1st. And I had to pay rent on this place. I had to pay rent on I literally was like, I have money coming. And what if those two deals would have fallen apart? And I think that's the thing that people don't get, and I don't think people realize how many people are actually on edge nowadays because we live through social media and people flexing and people only showing like, look at me, when it's like, I know people that will post photos at the Laker game, but then need to borrow money from someone. Yeah. And I think that's like, I think the real problem in society nowadays is that like, we're so living on this like, I don't even know if it's flexing or like an image or whatever. I always laugh. I'm like, we worry about more of the people that don't even care about us than we worry about the people that actually care about us. Yeah, definitely. And, I think social media definitely has created this reality of having to, live up to the Joneses. But I think like you and me were talking about earlier, what we put on social media isn't always it's not real life. It's what we're putting out there. We're all actually everyone's a marketing firm now. I think that's the thing that we were talking about. Everyone is in marketing now because you have to be, or we think we have to be, but it's like I always laugh anytime someone posts something and I like call them out or whatever, or someone will post something and I'll be like, oh God. And are you that person on social media? Do you troll your friends? No, I don't troll my friends, but I just laugh because I go, and they go, and like someone will be like, what? And I'm like, I wonder why they posted that. And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, everyone posts everything for a reason. You don't, maybe you don't even consciously know why you're posting it, but you're posting it for a reason. It's like the girlfriend breaks up with the boyfriend. Next thing you know, she's taking photos with all her friends out at the club, blah, 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 looking like they're having so much fun. But then she cried like an hour before going out there. Yeah. Or she gets home and she's crying because she misses him. But we all post something for a reason. Yeah. I mean, so going back to affordable housing, that's what we're on here. But like, do you then struggle sometimes with, obviously affordable housing is like your number one thing. Yes. Do you struggle with sometimes you see the direction that, or are you starting to see the game that is played in government now where you're like, we could be doing so much, but there's just so many like game being played that people just don't realize? So I think, being in public service and working for the county, we have really good people in positions that are trying really hard to make affordable housing
accessible.
Yeah.
And are really working for our community. And I'm privileged to know that, and I will advocate that we have people working so hard, you know, with the city as well and with the county, you know, to negate the, not negate, but to, you know, what am I trying to say here? We have people behind the scenes that are working really hard. And I feel like with social media nowadays, there's a very loud voice saying, you know, the city's not doing enough, the county's not doing enough. There's always going to be more work to do. But I can honestly say that there are people that honestly care about the work that we do. And it's why they've pulled me into, I think when we met, I was marketing for economic development and I was working with small businesses here in the city and throughout the county. And then we kind of shifted and said, how can we use marketing to create affordable housing? Which I think was the best thing to do. So a little backstory. I was telling you, so I went to art school. I went to school for graphic design. But before that, I kind of had a similar story like you did, of like ending up like going from family to family's house before I ended up going to school. You know, I always say I grew up non-traditional youth. So I grew up in a family that wasn't really that stable. I moved out when I was 17. And then from there, ended up living with family. And then if it wasn't for me, you know, getting a job and moving back out here to Riverside, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I have a very I have a big heart for affordable housing because I know how much housing means to people. I mean, you brought it up. My Instagram name is Wood Street Mama because I'm so connected to my house. It's the house I raised my kids in. And so going back to your original question of, do I think like the government's doing enough? I think that at the local level, we have initiatives going that are working really hard to create affordable housing because what we want to do is we want to catch people before they hit that poverty line and end up homeless. So we can help them get back onto their feet. The Housing Authority for the County of Riverside has a really cool department called Family Self-Sufficiency. And basically what it is like take classes. We're teaching you how to budget. We're teaching you how to just steward your quality of life right now really well so you can get off Section 8. And we help you save up enough money to put a down payment on a house and eventually come into home ownership, which, you know, everything. I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
What would you say success is in life? What is that picture for you?
Success in life? I try every day to have as much fun as possible. And if I wake up every day and I'm happy what I'm doing and I'm having fun, then that's success to me. Because what people don't understand, I love how it's going. I love what people don't understand is like everyone I ever talk to, they think like if I just made $50,000 more, I'd be happy. If I just made, listen, I made $19,000 for 9 years in a row. And then I made $125 my first year in real estate. And yes, that was really awesome because like, oh my God, I have money. But from 120 to 240 the next year, it wasn't different. And from 240 to whatever, like it's not like people think I have a Range Rover I don't even care about. It doesn't even make me happy to drive because those things don't matter to me. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment. Like I don't care. Like that's not fun for me. Like this room makes me happy. That's why I do this. Like getting comments that I helped someone makes me happy. Like having fun is what success is because I think so many people worry about so many things. It's like just try to be happy every day because that's what matters. Because I'll be happy if there's $10 in my account or $1 million in my account. And I think that's the struggle that people worry about. They worry about so many things. Like just worry about happy. Like just worry. What makes you happy? So that's my question to you. What are the 3 things that make you happy? I love pushing the limits on what people think we can do. Meaning like no one in Riverside in real estate has ever thought I should do a podcast or I should have someone follow me around with a camera or I should be making educational videos every day. I love that I'm the only guy that does it. Like that makes me feel good inside. I love that people hate me. I love that people look at me and they're like, oh, he's da da da. I love that because it's like, dude, you couldn't even do what I do anyways. I love what makes me happy is just seeing people around me happy. Like I love being able to help anyone. Like that's something that like I don't put on social media. Like I don't show people the donations I give to charities. Because I'm not doing it for the flex on people. I do it because like I want to help. Like I'm happy, like of all the people that follow me, the one thing if I die tomorrow, I want people to be like, you know what? That guy had no college education, like literally came from like nothing. Yes, my parents grew up in Orange Crest, but they're not well off. Like, and he like whatever you say about him, he did it. That's like, you know?
Yeah. And you accomplish all that through marketing.
100%. It's all marketing. I think the thing is like with like affordable housing, like if you start, like you said, like your idea was great. Like I think so many people have these ideas bought in their head what affordable housing is, that like you just kind of have to break the mold of what those is. Like SB10. I think it's SB10. I don't know. But SB10, like we were talking about earlier, like I see articles online, people being like, this is going to ruin our town and developers and investors are going to ruin all our cities. And it's like, you never even read the law. That's impossible. The homeowner has to live in the house for 3 years. And if they don't, they have fraud and they'll go to jail. Like no investor's buying up houses and to ruin people's neighborhoods. Like, but it's a plan to try to build more housing. And more housing is beneficial to everyone because what people don't get is that they're not in housing, they're on the street.
Yeah.
And do we want people on the street? No, because that makes the city like I'm a 34-year-old man and I sometimes get nervous walking down the street because of homeless people. How do you feel? Like, you know what I mean? Like if we want the value of our town to be raised up, we have to do the small things that clean up our town. And if you don't want to sacrifice that, then you don't really give a crap where you live. You just give a crap about the block that you live on.
Yeah.
And I think that's where people make the mistake. They're just like, we don't want homeless, but like if it affects me, like I don't really want to deal with it.
Yeah. Sometimes I think I live on social media basically because of my job. And I think sometimes some of the loudest voices out there that are so anti our homeless neighbors on the street are also so anti-affordable housing.
Yeah.
And so I think going back to your original question of, do I think the government's doing enough? I think there's a level of accountability we take in our city to make it ourselves and take ownership and say like, how can we help our neighbor who's living on the street get into housing? And I just think sometimes people like to complain. I think it's really easy to complain on the internet.
People like to complain. I think the issue is we have to figure out ways to make it easier for developers to develop. Like a big issue I had with about it is like Riverside has to do, what's the thing with the state right now where they have to show the plan in the next 10 years, how they're going to build 21,000 homes or whatever they have to find lots and stuff, whatever. And they have all these committees and whatever. But in the end of the day, like Riverside's not building those places. Developers are. So how do we make it easier for, like I have developers and it's like, when it comes to like permitting and the gas company and the electric company and getting these things done, like it's like we pushed back a project in Rialto like 2 months based on the electric company, Edison not getting us power. Yeah. And it's just like, that's costing my developer money. Every single time there's a delay, it's costing him money. Or every time we have to get permits, it's costing us money or things like that. Or zoning laws, you know? And it's just like, we need to make it easier for them. Like the rich is going to get richer. Listen, the developers are going to get rich. Like let it be. But we need to figure out ways to make it done faster and easier. Like I think like, you know, I think we should be able to like make it where people can build 2-bedroom, 2 baths, 2-bedroom, 1 bath. We don't need any more. We don't need any more 5-bedroom homes. Like we need 2-bedroom, 2 baths. We need 3 2s. Like we need smaller homes. Like for the lower income people to be able to get housing.
Yeah. And I think that's really what I'm enjoying this year. Marketing for affordable housing. People always say like, what does that mean? Yeah. So I work directly with landlords and people who are homeowners that don't even know they're landlords yet. Yeah. And say, hey, do you A, want to make extra income? B, do you want to help the affordable housing crisis we have out here? And I think, you know, going back to taking ownership of our own city is dismissing the idea that we were kind of talking about earlier of, oh man, someone's going to, you know, chop up or build like a 4-story complex next door to my house. Like, come on, let's be honest. Like there's a lot of red tape like you were talking about. Yeah.
Like, I don't think people realize how difficult it is to get that done. Like we're trying to like build apartment buildings. And it's like already difficult. It takes months to get everything passed and permits and this and like it's not easy to get done.
No, it's not. And so that's not going to happen. And B, like I was saying, so a big part of my job is to say, hey, do you have a back house that you're willing to rent? I mean, I contacted you last year and I was like, hey, I want to throw up a duplex in my backyard. And then because of zoning, I couldn't do
you're in a
it.
historic district, can't do it.
But I found a way to get around it because I have a detached garage. And the
so you're going to convert it?
Yeah, and we're going to do an ADU.
Oh, okay.
Because, me trying to convince other people to say, hey, like, myth bust Section 8, I need to put my money where my mouth is and say, I would do it. Why wouldn't you do it?
What's funny is people don't get Section 8's great for renting. Like I have a lot of buddies that buy Section 8 in Alabama and places like that. Like those are guaranteed checks. The government's writing you a check every month. Like you're getting paid. Like when you got a Section 8 person, you are guaranteed a paycheck. And like out there, like if I think in Alabama, I think if you like get evicted based on whatever, you lose Section 8 forever.
Yeah. Yes.
Like so it's just like you have the best tenants. They pay on time because the government's writing the check. Like, why would you not take Section 8?
Yeah, so I had a lot of landlords contact me last year because of, they were scared that if the person they had that wasn't paying rent or because of COVID, if they lost their job, were they going to be able to pay rent? These are people that were not on Section 8 that were coming over and saying, hey, I do want to be a Section 8 landlord because there is that security of I am going to be receiving, a payment, which is a plus for landlords. And, right now with our economy, I mean, it's a great way to make a second income too, if you're thinking about it.
Yeah, I just don't think people realize like it's just lack of knowledge. And I think anytime that someone has an argument with something, it's just lack of knowledge. Even if you don't like someone, normally it's like you just don't even actually know the person.
Yeah, exactly. And so I spent a lot of times making relationships with investors and landlords and walking through this process with them of like the biggest question I get or the biggest concern I get a lot is what if they just stop paying their bills? Or are they going to take care of my house? I think at the end of the day, most people want somewhere to live. Yeah. No one's ideal situation is I want to go live out
on the street.
Exactly.
Yeah. Unless they have mental issues, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah. And so people who are, who are on Section 8 or receiving a housing choice voucher have been, we have their income. We know how much they make. They're on this program because they're like, hey, we need help. But, whether they're working or whatever their situation is, they want to live somewhere. Yeah. When you get into a house, you want to, you see people's excitement on their face when they get a house. Sure.
I think that's the thing. People, it's almost like those people, like I'll tell you this, when you're doing a deal, like in real estate, when the person that never thought they could own a house, get a house, those are the people that mean so much more than like the client you have, and they're great to have, but like the clients you have is like sold, bought, where it's just like, oh, this is another transaction. But when you have that person, it's like, I never thought we would own a home. Like I never thought I could own a home, and you get them a house. It's like, oh my gosh, like, are you serious right now? Like I'm a homeowner. Like this is my house. And then they get a skunk in their house and then they're like, oh, this sucks.
Oh yeah. Tell me about it. And so you were saying that you love when people are like, oh my gosh, Adam, like, thank you so much for helping me. When I get that phone call after someone leases up an apartment or a complex, I know my clients' names by heart. So I'm a super faith-based person. And when I have my priority clients, I go home and I pray for them at night. I pray for them with my kids because I put in the time of building a relationship with the client and also building a relationship with our landlords out here, which is cool because I literally market to create affordable housing. And getting people into housing is what I love to do. So
do you think you're going to lock in this affordable housing for a while because you're so passionate about it, or,
the housing market right now. And I think the housing market completely controls the rental market.
Oh, for sure.
And, our housing is controlled by HUD and how much, our housing choice voucher participants can get an apartment or wherever they're looking for. And with the housing market, rental is high. I say right now, affordable housing is not even affordable. Our 2-bedroom stipends are equivalent to my mortgage payment. So
it's affordable
housing is not even affordable when I hear people talking about like, oh, they're getting free handouts. People that are on Section 8 are working twice as hard to find housing, to get into housing, to pay for housing.
Well, and two, like, I don't think people realize like the stress of it too. Like not knowing where you're going to be, like how much that weighs on you. Like I always say, like, I'd like to get to a point where, like, when people always go like you asked the question earlier, what's success? Or, a lot of people go like, how much money is enough money? And for me, it's I don't know what the number is, but the number is when something happens, it doesn't faze me. Like I was telling you the story about the night I went to when I just got into real estate and I had no money and whatever. We just got a brand new car because I needed my own car because I had to drive, I had a job now. I was actually home. Well, we totaled a car like the first month we owned it. And that night we were leaving for New York. So it's like we just totaled a brand new car. We have no money to buy another car. I'm 27 years old. I don't know how this works, insurance and stuff. I lost like $3,000 on the car in 1 month. The most, like, could have owned a Ferrari for a month, but no, whatever. I bought a Nissan something or other. But like that whole trip was ruined to New York because I was so worried about, like, when I come home, like, we don't have a car, we don't have any money, we don't have this, we don't have that. So I want to get to the point where that doesn't matter. Like the other day, somehow my window got broken on my van. Didn't break in, but they just like shattered it. And I'm like, what if I didn't have the money to fix that window? And then I had to leave it on the street because my van doesn't fit into my apartment building. And then someone stole my van or broke into it and took everything out of it. Or like I don't think people realize like that compound effect where it's like,
yeah. So
for me, it's like, yeah, it sucked my window. Like going back to the no stress, like that sucks my window got broke, but at least I had the $400 to fix it. And I could just call my assistant. My assistant called the car place. The car place fixed it. We fixed it. Then then that day we went to a charity event for RCC baseball. So it's like, that's where I'm so happy in life now, where I've gotten to the point where like those things aren't major factors because they used to be.
Yeah. And like, my heart breaks when I'm like, we have these conversations of, I mean, man, Netflix just put out a series called Made. I don't know if you watched it, but it's basically a single mom trying to find housing for her and her daughter and live and feed her kid. And she's like, do I save this money for a payment today, or do I save this money to feed my kid? And having to be put in that situation is just, that's not fun.
Yeah.
And so like, it's almost a luxury to be like, oh, my window broke and I have money to pay for it.
Yeah. I think that's the thing too. I think that something better, it's funny, we were talking about like college and stuff before the podcast, and it's like the things that I think schooling needs to teach kids nowadays, because like we have the internet, like, let's be honest, half the stuff we can learn, half the stuff you don't use anyways. Like I don't remember anything from high school, but like how to balance a checkbook, what do credit cards mean, or like just going like, hey, listen, like just be responsible in life. Doug Shepard is a great real estate agent. I love him to death. He does say the same. He says if you wait to get married after 20, if you graduate high school and you get married after 25 and you do not have a kid before you get married, it's you will not be under the poverty line. Like it's like a fact. Like if you do those three things, you will not be poor. And I think that's the thing we need to start educating people on. It's like, this is how much housing costs. Like this is how much this costs. This is how much you need to make a year. Like, I mean, to think like 6 figures doesn't even matter anymore. Like I remember when I was a kid, like, oh, if I just made $100,000, like $100,000, like I have clients, it's like, we make $100,000. Okay, cool. You can't afford anything. Like it's crazy how much things are now.
I have a question for you.
Ask away.
So I would say, how long have you been in real estate?
6 years.
6 years.
Yes.
6 years ago, did you see the housing market where it is today?
Oh man, if I could have bought more houses, I would have done great. No, I just think that even now, like I think when COVID hit, I think people started realizing what they could buy out here instead of LA. And I think we just haven't had a massive fluctuation. I mean, like, remember, out when you were, where did you live other than Riverside?
Moreno Valley.
Other than Moreno Valley, just Riverside, Moreno Valley. You ever talk to people like in Orange County or LA and they're like, oh, you live in Riverside? Like they don't even go. People in Orange County don't even go past the 71. They're like, ooh, we're in Chino. We're not gonna go any far east. Like we're gonna, you know what I mean? Like I remember being like on planes, like when I used to travel for work all the time. Like, oh, where do you live? I live in like, and I'd be like flying back in Ontario or LA, and they'd be like, oh, where do you live? I'm like, oh, I live in Riverside. They're like, oh, I can't talk to you anymore. And so I think finally the stigma of like the people, like we had 5 million people move to the Inland Empire in the last year and a half. Like. We wonder why prices are skyrocketing. It's like we have so many people living here and they have so much money because they just sold their 2-bedroom, 1-bath in Long Beach for $800,000, and they could buy a pool home in Orange Crest, 5-bedroom, 3-bath for $800,000.
Yeah.
So I think we're actually in trouble in Riverside is that and all of the Inland Empire. I just think the bottom market's gone. And I think that these prices are just normal now. Mm-hmm. And I just don't see them going down anytime soon. I don't think they're ever going to go down unless rates go crazy. But I just think that we're at a new norm. And I think that, I don't know if you want to say people have realized the hidden gem that's out here of Riverside or whatever, or Inland Empire, but just money goes so much farther out here. Like, you can't even buy anything in Riverside under $500,000 anymore.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And
I used to look at houses for like 300. Like,
yeah.
I mean, the highest house I ever sold, one of the high, like my first year was like 600,000, 650,000 off of Overlook. Wow. And it's like, the house is now probably $1 million. Like, isn't that crazy?
Wow.
I mean, just take the houses I sold behind the drive, and I couldn't even sell them for $500,000 back in 2008 because rates were so high. And now I just sold one for $700,000 3 years later, like $700,000 for a house, a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,800 square feet behind the drive-in. Like, even me as a real estate agent, I'm like, this is insane.
So going back to what Doug said,
yeah,
I love that he said that. Do you think in this climate, it's still possible to forecast, I'm going to need to save, like, so the millennial who did all that.
Yeah.
The millennial who went to school,
yeah.
the millennial who graduated, who waited to have a kid until they were married and are over the age of, I think you said 28, 25.
Yeah.
Do you think that the average millennial right now who did all that could afford to buy a house?
No, I think you have to move out of California.
Yeah.
But like, my thing is like, I mean, I'm going to reverse this. Like, I don't think home ownership is the greatest thing that everyone thinks it is, to be honest.
I'm hearing that a lot lately.
I'm a renter. I love renting. And people always ask me, why do you rent, Adam? You know how much I would have to put down on a house to have my payment $2,000 a month? I'd have to put down $150,000, $200,000. So like $200,000 out of my pocket gone. When I was very fortunate, when COVID hit, I was able to pay all my staff's salary. No one ever missed a check. My videographer would come in every day when we had nothing to do. I beat every Mario. Like, that's what we did. And he still got a paycheck. My assistant still got a paycheck every day. And we couldn't show houses for 2 months.
Wow.
So for me as a business owner, I feel happier when there's money in my account. I would not feel happy owning a house. Mm-hmm. Because I don't care. One, I'm a single dude. Like, 3 bedrooms wouldn't be used anyways.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. What I always tell people, if you watch my stuff, is like, you buy and sell homes to solve a problem. So like, only buy that house if it's what you need and if you think owning a house is gonna make you happy, great. But if you're buying this house because you think it's gonna go up $100,000 in equity and you're gonna make no, you're not, because no one actually cares about money. Mm-hmm. I hope everyone knows that. No one cares about money. You might think you care about money, but if you did, you wouldn't drink your $5 Starbucks every day. You wouldn't spend the $1,300 on an iPhone when you just have 1 year model earlier. Like, you really don't care about money.
Yeah.
Because if you did, we wouldn't have shorting houses, because everyone would be selling their house because they'd all be taking out all the equity and moving. They don't care. They can't sell their house because they have nowhere to go. Mm-hmm. So I've gotten past people care about money. No one cares about money. You think you care, but if you make more money, you're just going to spend it. So I think owning a house is great and it's fun for some people, but for me, it's just not.
I love that you said that, because that's why I asked you earlier what success meant to you. Because I think a lot of people might say success is me making a lot of money, but it's not about money. It's what do you do with that money?
Yeah,
what are you doing with it? What are your passions?
Like Gary Vee says, I know a lot of people that cry in their Ferrari. And like, you might not think, like, I think like if there's only one person in this world, if I could ever meet, and it'd be him, because like he changed my mindset on so much. Because it's true, like, I'm not any happier now. Like, I'm happier because my life is a lot easier because I have employees and stuff. And I love, like, my assistant, Brittany, is my best friend. I talk to her every single day. Every single day I talk to Brittany. And I look forward to calling her at 9 a.m. every single day. Like, she makes my life better because I make her life better. Like that, like, our business / friendship relationship makes me so happy that I have the ability to put her in that position in life. It makes me feel so happy because she enjoys what she does, because she gets to work with me, and I get to enjoy what I do because I get to work with her. Like, no one goes before her. Mm-hmm. Like, any client ever listening ever, like, if you ever disrespected my assistant Brittany, I would fire you in a second and not even think twice about it. I don't even care if you're selling a $5 million house. It doesn't matter to me. Because that doesn't matter to us, because money comes and goes. It doesn't. So that's the thing that people don't get, and they don't know it because they're just trying to barely make it. Mm-hmm. And they've never felt that. they don't know what that is, and they think because they watch it on Instagram. But it's like, how many people do you watch on Instagram? Because that's how everything. And you're like, oh my God, they look so happy. A week later, they're getting divorced. You're like, what? You know what I mean? Like, they look so happy online. What happened? And so I think that's the thing, that it's just like, it's not money.
Yeah.
It's not money. And people say, you're right, Adam, must be nice because you make money. Dude, there's some months I make I'm not going to make one dime this month. Can you imagine that? I'm not going to make $1 and all the bills still go out. But I also have a job where I deal with the stress of not making $1 this month and having to spend a ton of money.
Yeah.
Can you handle that? Like, success is so hard and so nerve-wracking and so stressful. And so, like, I remember when I signed this lease to this office, I threw up. Like, I threw up. I signed it. I was like, oh, and I like threw up. I was so scared.
What do they say? If your dreams don't scare you, you're not dreaming big enough.
I mean, I think that's the thing, is that you have to push the limit in life, because at the end of the day, what does it matter? And if you fail, who cares? You're playing against yourself. Like, what does it matter if so-and-so, like, I yelled at my mom one time because we're in this office and she was looking around. We were like just demoing the whole place, and my mom's, and bless her heart, she was just looking out for me, but she's like, I don't even want to know how much this is costing you. I don't want to know this. I said, you can leave. She's like, what? And I go, you can leave now. I said, who cares? What do you care? What do you care if this costs me a lot of money? What does it matter? Well, what if happens? What if you don't make? What if you go broke? Who cares? I've already been broke once. I'll be broke again. Like, who gives a crap? I survived it. You know what I mean? Like, so, you know, you said you made some transitions in life. Like, what was the transition to, like, going in? Because obviously as a graphic designer, you could do anything. What was it kind of like? What made you go into government? Is it like the security? Like, you didn't want to be a freelancer? What were your thoughts on that?
I love that question. So I started working for the county when I was 18 years old, and I needed a job. And so I started at a front desk, and I remember I hadn't been at college yet. In high school, my parents wanted me to go to school for business, typical Indian thing. Yeah. And I was like, I'm not going to school for business.
You're like, I'm not being a nurse, okay? God, stop.
Right?
I'm not going to be a nurse or a doctor. Move on.
Yeah, I'm going to be a graphic designer,
parents.
They're
like, what? That's not even a job. That's Canva.
Right? And so I was 18, and I remember them sending out these like employee flyers for like the birthday campaign. And I was like, these are ugly. And so I asked the secretary at that time, can I start doing these? And she was like, yeah. And I had no graphic design skills at this point. I was literally using Word. But they say, like, if you can use the most basic skills and do something with it, then you are a master of your craft. Yeah. But anyways. And
not to toot your own horn.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. I like
but
it.
Beep beep.
Yeah.
And so I liked designing. So I said, you know what? I need to go to school for something. I want to go to school for graphic design. So I went to school for graphic design. I took all my design classes, like I was telling you earlier. And then they're like, okay, you got to take like math and philosophy. And I was like, I got my skills. I'm going to bounce now. And so I was working for workforce development at the time. And we had all these really cool programs going on about like free training, and we were having job fairs every week, and we would post flyers in our office. And that was how we told people. So unless you came into our office,
you wouldn't even know.
You didn't know.
Yeah.
So I remember talking to our regional manager at the time, and I said, can I make a Facebook page? And we could like put these things on Facebook, and so the community will know. And at the time, Obama was president, and he was the first administration to actually use social media because he wanted to reach people in real time. And so my manager was great. He's like, yeah, go for it. So, you know, it was just something I thought I would do on the side. And then, you know, we had a change of management like about 2 years later, and they saw our social media and they said, hey, like, we need to make this a full-time job. Yeah. Like, we need to be reaching our community. And so at that point, I was like, I need to start designing all of our flyers we're putting out in X, Y, or Z. So I jumped into art school. And then probably like one of the highlights of like my career to this point, we had a team that was working on something called customer-centered design, and it was how to get the red tape out of government. Kind of like the red tape you were talking about earlier. There's so much of it that people don't want to work with us. And so they ideated this app, but they needed a designer. And so I was asked to be the designer on the team. And I was like, oh yeah, like I'll do it. Like, what is our audience? X, Y, or Z. And they said, we're competing against all the other workforce boards in the nation. the winners get to go to the White House and present at the White House. And I was like, okay, cool, no pressure.
Yeah, exactly.
So I remember spending 2 weeks, probably from sunrise to sundown, working on how to present this app that the group had thought of. So long story short, we ended up being one of the 5 workforce boards to get to go out to Washington and present. And I remember just sitting in the back of the room and having this sense of pride of man, good design got us here. And so it absolutely stirred my passion, and I gotta kind of grow in branding our organization now, and leveling up. And thank God we have county leaders that are we don't want to be a podunk county, we want to be we want to look professional, we want to be able to reach the community, and design marketing is all it's psychology. It's literally visual psychology. And so they find it super important. So jumping over now to, okay, we have an affordable housing problem. We want to connect with the community to say, hey, let's make affordable housing. How do we do that? It's marketing. It's, I say in meetings all the time, it's super cool if we have a really good idea in this room and we talk about it around the table. But if we're not sharing the information and the programs and the good things with people outside, what does it matter?
Exactly.
And so I think marketing has just completely in every single, whether it's your own business, whether it's your department, whether you're a nonprofit, whether you're a real estate agent, you know this, marketing is how you get your product out there. And I think I said this earlier too, if you're in charge of making sure that your business or whatever it is successful, marketing needs to be your religion.
It's the number one thing. You can't sell until you get someone in the door.
And you know what? I think people forget too that they are their biggest branding tool. You are the face of your business. You are the face of what you do. And I think it's important to put people in those marketing positions that are passionate about what they do.
I think it's worse. I think it's terrible. I think a big mistake I see people owners now, because video is the thing and they're so bad on video, but they're I'm the CEO or whatever. I see this in real estate. It's if you're not good at it, just put someone in your place. It's not that big of a deal, because it's it's you're not good at, it's I'm a terrible graphic designer, so we hired one. Adrian's actually a terrible graphic designer. Adrian's not even a good photographer. He's really good at video. So we don't even do photos with him because why? It's not going to come out right, and then the brand's going to be off.
Oh man, I'm so yin and yang about that. I hope I said that correctly.
Yeah, yin and yang. Yeah.
So I don't know if you heard me earlier, but I said good design is important because, I see Canva's commercial, and I'm going to talk about Canva in a second. I see Canva's commercial all the time, especially during the COVID season or the pandemic season, where they're anyone can be a designer, use our tool, it's free. And I will say this, as someone who went to art school, and I love Photoshop, I love Illustrator, I love Adobe Cloud in general. If you're not making $75 to $100 freelancing on the side,
don't even do it.
Don't do it. That's where a lot of graphic designers nowadays are okay, you want to pay me $25 to do a logo? You're going to get a Canva. I'm going to make it look great, and I'll put my name on it. But you are Canva is a great tool if you know how to use it. Don't use Martha from accounting, that's just someone I made up, for the record, to do your marketing when they know nothing about marketing, when they know nothing about design, nothing about videography. It's why people go to school and spend thousands of dollars.
I think you have to have an eye for it. I cannot design anything, but I have an eye for it. I don't have, even video ideas. I'll see a video and I'm cut that, do this. I have no idea how to edit them. People always DM me, hey, what editing software do you use? I'm I don't know. Adrian, what software do you use? And I think, but it's but I have what I like and don't like, what looks good doesn't do. And I think some people just don't have that. They just don't know. Adrian doesn't. Adrian will make something Adrian, that doesn't look good. He's I'm not a graphic designer. That's what he always says. I'm not a graphic designer.
You are great though, because when you first started off, and I think you still say this to this day, start somewhere.
Oh, just do. I actually
just do it.
My thing is, I think too many people I also don't care. I'm the yin and yang. I don't know if I'm even using this right, but I also don't care. I'm also yeah, that's good. That's good enough. Let's go.
Yeah.
that video is good. Oh, I messed up. Like today we're shooting a news video. I'm like, Adrian, can you edit that? Like he's like, it's gonna be a jump cut. I'm like, who cares if it's a jump cut? Philip DeFranco just jump cuts all day, and he has like 7 million followers on YouTube or whatever. So like I think that's also the two is like it's that perfect balance of making it look good enough, but also not letting perfection stop you.
Yes.
It's that balance but it's forcing me, like I have to put something out every single day. So we don't have time to make it look great. And we don't have the resources. Like I don't have the resources to make a Gary V. I can't compete with Gary V. He has 10 amazing staff members and a company of 700 people behind him. I'm just one guy and one guy. Like we're just two guys in here. So I think that's the thing, like where people stop themselves because they think that one marketing piece is going to get them business. It's not. It's like it's the 150. I mean, I've posted over 3,000 times on Instagram.
Congratulations, because that's hard work.
That's a lot of work for years. And people go, like, how does Instagram work for you so well? I'm like 3,000 posts. And they're like thinking of the ideas and the marketing behind them and da-da-da. Oh, I got to do that today. I just remember.
And so I bet with that, though, you are someone, since you're putting out so much content, you're not worried about, you're not posting for the person who doesn't care. You're posting for maybe the 3 people that will watch it.
Yeah.
Or,
I have agents that be like, I've never watched you. I'm like, you're an agent. I don't care. What do I care if you don't watch it? That doesn't, like you think saying that to me, it matters to me. It doesn't. It really doesn't.
And I think in the world, or in the public sector world, social media is completely different. Because
you have to be so like
it's not as sexy as going on, I don't know, like an artist's page or something like that. It's a lot of
it's hard.
It's a lot of programs stuff, but it's worth it when you post for those 3 people. So I posted. I think it was yesterday or the day before. There's a program called United Live. So like if you're hard off right now because of COVID, you can have assistance paying for your rent and your utilities and X, Y, or Z. And I was like, this isn't sexy. It's not going to get over 100 likes. But the 3 people who do go like it and the 3 people that do get rental assistance so they can continue living, that's who it's for.
Do you struggle with that? Do you struggle with lights, like not being sexy? Like the posts you post?
So do I personally struggle with it, or do I see my pages struggle with it?
Like, do you care?
Do I care?
Like, here's the thing. I tell people this all the time. The funny part is I posted my car the other day because I just got a wrap and I want to help the company out. That has been the most engagement I've had on a post in a long time. The day later I posted, I got my first 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, and that meant so much to me. That's awesome. Nothing. Crickets. No one commented. No one said congrats. No one said anything. But I got 1 million fire emojis about my car. And so like I know what could get me likes.
Yeah.
And I know what gets likes on the internet. Like it's not stupid. You go on TikTok, you watch 1 million girls shake their booties. Like what gets there. Or the fast cars or private planes. I know what gets likes. And I know some people that struggle with it. Do you struggle with that when you post your post and you're like, man, like, does it sometimes get you down that a post only gets 3 likes? Or 10 likes or whatever the number is.
So I don't care about numbers when it comes to when it comes to like.
Does it county?
Our count. I don't think so. I think we care more about getting the message out there. And it's like you said, like, it's staying relevant with algorithms right now and knowing marketing. You have to be at the forefront. And a lot of that comes from being consistent in your posting. So I want to make sure when we're posting like our services or something that's going to help someone, it's going to be seen. And I think that's a responsibility of being a marketer, is knowing those things.
Do you use a posting service or no?
No, I don't use a posting service. Okay. Do you use Sprout Social?
No, I use Hero Post. I think it was like $139 lifetime. Okay. So cheap. It saves me so much.
I used to assist the communications team at my former church, and we used Sprout Social for it. But I'm so old school.
Do you? Well, the problem is like I like doing it, so when I'm on vacation or I'm out of town, people don't know.
Yeah,
I'm the one doing the posting. So if I'm MIA for a week, nothing gets posted. I do all my posting myself.
I'm gonna look into that. That's good.
$130 lifetime. You can post scheduled posting. You can post on all your platforms. You can make one post and click on all your platforms of what you want to do it on. The reason that doesn't work for us is because we change every image or video based on what platform it's going on. We've gotten away from being lazy. So like if it's going to be a story, it's a different frame rate.
Yeah.
If it's Instagram, different frame rate. If it's Facebook, different frame rate.
Yeah.
So I can't mass produce anymore.
And let me tell you, as a designer and someone who cares about everything being like quote unquote feng shui, as you would say, I couldn't do that. So I am the exact same way. Like if you're going to film a video and whether it's going to go on Facebook, like please don't film your videos this way. So you get like the black screen, or please don't post your videos this way on, like, I'm very big on that.
We'll shoot 2 videos. Like we'll shoot double videos based on the platform that has to be on. I think, and that's the other thing that people also don't get is like each platform we're making a video about is done differently, or we have to reshoot it. Like we shoot reels now because they do better than long video on Instagram. So I had to shoot a news video for real estate. Like today was talking about high rent. So we have to shoot a video for YouTube, doing an intro for YouTube, do the bumper. Then we have to create it for we have to create it for Facebook because Facebook doesn't let you put a cover page on it. So we have to drop the image into the video first. So if someone's just looking at the video, they see the image. It makes a thumbnail so they click on it.
And you would probably know this.
What?
How you're posting and what it looks like is the first glance someone has.
Oh, the thumbnail is so important
to your professionalism
for
too.
Sure.
If you're putting a pixelated video out 100%. There, no, who's going to take you serious? You know?
And I think too, it's less like, I think that it's not even that much harder. I think what's hilarious now is like, I used to start doing this when I had to shoot on like an iPhone 7 with like 720 or 480, whatever it used to be. Now everything's 4K.
Yeah.
You could do 4K and some headphones and your stuff looks great. Like you don't need all this stuff. Like this is just like to stroke my ego, I guess. But like, you know what I mean? I think that's the thing. Like the reason we did this was for the wow factor. Like I don't want to care anyone that walks in that door. I want them to be like, oh, this place is like super impressive. Like, you know, because that automatically steps, you know, my game up or the perception of it.
You know, I love that you said that. I love that you have this because it's a representation of your hard work.
Exactly.
But I feel for someone who's like just trying to start out anywhere, the person that's sitting in a small business, a business owner listening to this right now.
Oh, for sure. Like, I think that I'll show like my old videos. I'm like, look how terrible this used to be, but I used to shoot it every day.
Yes, just do it.
And then now, like, you cannot, like, we did this with the podcast room because it was like 2019, we started the podcast like out there with like these crappy mics, run to a laptop. Then we went to the old room with all the foam on the wall. And now we have this. And I'm like, I try to tell someone, I'm like, don't look at this and try to compare yourself to this. Yeah. Like we started there and like we grew to this. We didn't start here. You know, there was a process to it.
Yeah.
Because you also have to learn through it. Like we had to learn like what works, what doesn't work. I think that's the process of learning what works and doesn't. That's why you have to post a lot. You have to learn what like I always know what content does well. The housing market's crashing. That video always does great. That video on YouTube will always get views. It's always my most view every time I say the housing market's crashing or clickbait or whatever. But like a video about how to save $100 on your mortgage, no one cares about.
You know, it's funny that you said that too, because I think from where you start in like the world of marketing as you grow, you learn stuff. Like I sent out if you're going to send out a flyer at 5:00 in the afternoon when you're about to go home and you want people to call you, you're not going to do as well as sending out that flyer in the middle of the day, Monday, and the people have a whole week to contact you. And I think those are just little nuances you learn as you go. But like you say, just start somewhere.
You just got to post as much as possible, even if you feel stupid. Like I always love when I used to have a team, they'd be like, oh, what do you think about this? And I'd just be like, post. And they're like, no, it's not. I'm like, well, it's done. It's done. It's already on the internet. Like it's too late. You know, something I wonder about you, and I did this for a while when I did last year, I did a power month of all power women. And I went out and found all women that are doing powerful things. How do you balance working for the county, you know, and then having a daughter and husband and, you know, your spiritual life? How do you balance all those things? And what has kind of helped you like kind of manage it all?
Yeah.
Because being a woman's the hardest game in the world. So,
but it's the luckiest game in the world.
100%. You guys, you know, it's so funny. It's all perspective. Like I always say that about women. I'm like, you have so much power in this world. You just have to take advantage of it.
Yeah. Well, I think the foundation of all that is, you know, I'm a Christian. I base everything I do in life off of my beliefs and my values. And, you know, Jesus is who I want to reflect and look like in everything I do, whether it's being a wife and a mom and an employee or a county employee. I mean, I fail at it, time and time again. But how do I balance it? I think I kind of like touched on it earlier, as I'm so passionate about what we do, especially the affordable housing world. I remember when my daughter was, I think it was 2 months old, I was rocking her in my arms in her rocking chair in her room. And it's a lot of work to have a baby, to keep baby alive. And I just hope that one day, if I passed away and her father passed away, and she needed help and she called someone because she needed somewhere to go, whoever picked up the phone at that agency would love her as much as I loved that 2-month-old baby in my arms. And so when people call now, or people need housing, or we have priority clients, that's someone's baby. That was my 2-month-old baby that I held in my arms and I rocked. And, I think my love for my family absolutely pours into my love for the people I work with, because everything we do in life affects people. And I think you said it really good earlier. You've removed yourself from what fun is. You find your fun in serving your employees well. You find your fun in helping your clients find housing, get into their jump over those obstacles and those hills. So it's the same thing for me. I am filled when I come home knowing I gave it my all at work. And I am filled at work because I am filled, in my cubicle, I have pictures of my kids everywhere. Yeah. I am that person. It's covered with my 2-year-old's art, which is just basically painting smeared on paper. Yeah. And it's because I feel like, when we pour out in the best of ways, it's kind of like an empty champagne bottle. After the end of a champagne bottle, when it's empty, I'm pretty sure you're having a good time. You're feeling a little bit good. And I think that's how I feel coming home at the end of the day. But I'm not going to lie, Mackenzie during COVID season grew up listening to a lot of affordable housing calls on the floor next to my little, my 12-week-old sat in on the Civil Rights Institute meeting last month. So his first affordable housing meeting was at 5 weeks old on that call. And so I find it fun that I can involve my family in the things that I do, and vice versa.
Oh, awesome. I think that's a great way to end it. I think I'm super excited to see, and it's nice to have like a relationship, like meet you, like have this conversation, because I want you to realize like we're actually someone that's here to help. And I think we have a decent platform that we can share your things on. And if we can help one person, we can definitely help more than one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Until next time, guys. Peace.